Please welcome Ryan Holiday to the show. Welcome. It's good to have you on.
Yeah, of course.
Listen, I told you backstage, I got the book. I thought, okay, I'll read a couple of chapters. I finished this entire, it's a one night for me date that I won't ever forget. Discipline is destiny. Is that true?
I think so. We want to think about discipline as something that gets us where we want to go, but also discipline itself is great. So there's nothing that anyone will achieve in life that isn't going to demand some self-discipline. But then even the most menial or ordinary tasks can become great, noble, important by doing them with discipline, by being present, by showing up for them and not thinking, oh, this is some silly obligation I have, but like, no, this is important and I'm gonna do it my absolute best in this moment.
You've written about, keeping ego in check. You've written meditations. Why discipline? Why was this the next logical chapter for what you do?
So I read about an obscure school of ancient philosophy, which I did not think would bring me here with all of you today, so it's an incredible honor. But I read about Stoicism, and there's 4 virtues in Stoicism: courage, self-discipline, justice, and wisdom. And the idea is that every situation, every good or bad moment in life demands one or all 4 of those things. But I think particularly in this modern moment with unlimited distractions, with abundance that our ancestors would be shocked to hear that we have, all of that is also an opportunity for self-discipline, even an obligation for self-discipline, because you can do everything, but you really can't do everything.
Which is a part of the book. You talk about, the abundance of things, and do we have too many things in our lives?
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of people are like, no, isn't that the point? I work hard to have more. I work hard to give my children more.
Sure.
But that is not the goal.
Well, every parent focuses on this. You want to create a better life for your kid, but you also understand that the limits, the constraints, the struggles you went through helped make you who you are. If you give your kids everything, they won't learn responsibility, they won't learn limits. Balance is so important. And so, we want to, Seneca, one of the ancient Stoics, he said, the most powerful person is the person who is under their own power. Right? And so if you see it as this opportunity to be like, I decide what I do and don't do, that makes you great.
Okay, for a lot of people, though, they think discipline, that sounds rigid. It sounds so fun. It sounds like, you're not going to be able to relax and have a drink or whatever you do to unwind. But you say discipline is not a punishment. It's a way to avoid punishment. We do it because we love ourselves. We value ourselves and what we do. And we find conveniently enough that it also heightens our enjoyment of things as well.
Well, one of the ways that they would talk about self-discipline is the word temperance. And temperance doesn't mean nothing. It means the right amount of something, right? So no pleasure is not a particularly good way to live.
No, it is not.
But if it's so much pleasure you have the hangover after, or you regret it the next day, or a month later you look in the mirror and you're like, what happened?
Right.
How pleasurable was that actually?
Right. You also write in the book, no one can say yes to their destiny without saying no to what is clearly someone else's. What does that mean? I was reading that over and over. I'm like, speak to me, great philosopher. No one can say yes to their destiny without saying no to what is clearly someone else's.
I think we've all experienced this. As you become successful in what you do, you start getting all these other cool opportunities, other things, people asking you for some of your time, people asking if you want to do this, if you want to do that. And what you have to realize is that you can't say yes to everything. And in fact, when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. And conversely, and this is really important, when you say no to something, you're also saying yes to something. So when Marcus Aurelius says that when we ask ourselves, hey, is this thing essential? Is this really what I have to be doing? We find out a lot of the things that get thrown at us or people try to guilt us into doing or everyone else is doing, we find out, hey, it's not essential. And when we eliminate that stuff, it's good in and of itself.
Because when I thought about that, I thought about how many times we feel like we're being pulled in a bunch of different directions. I mean, we all know that feeling of everyone wants something from me at this point. And not monetary, your time, your energy. Prince used to call people energy vampires.
Yes.
You get on the phone with them, you literally feel weak because they are pulling from you.
Yes, and so when you say no to things, you're saying yes to the important things. Right. There's a great line I heard about the Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day O'Connor. one of her clerks said, what I so admired about her, and I think this is a thing that women struggle with especially, what I loved about her is when she said no, she never said sorry first. She just said, no, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And that takes self-discipline if you're a people pleaser.
Yeah.
If you are afraid to hurt other people's feelings. If you, like me, I want to do everything. And it's almost painful to say no. You got that fear of missing out. But the things you're saying yes to, it means you're saying no to other things, oftentimes to your family. And so I have to realize when I'm saying yes to some random thing that came into my inbox, I'm saying no to my little kids. And I already promised time to them. And so you have to have discipline about what you say yes to and what you say no to.
When we come back, up next, how writing his book, Discipline is Destiny, tested Ryan's own teachings about discipline. And I have a question. He says that we should sweat the small stuff. I'm going to find out what he means by that after the break. Today, we're talking to people who have used discipline, self-discipline, to overcome obstacles and live their best life. And we're back with New York Times bestselling author Ryan Holiday. His latest book, Discipline is Destiny. Yes, you can applaud that. Reveals the secret of how anyone can weave self-discipline into their everyday lives and find the results that they are trying to achieve, which in part is a meaningful and purposeful life. I love this, Attack the Dawn. And you talk about somebody I cherish so much, Toni Morrison, and her philosophy on really launching in your day.
Yeah, she's one of our great writers, but people don't realize what went into her becoming that. She was an editor at Random House. She was a single mom of 2 young kids. And she found that she wanted to write her first novel, and to be able to do that, she said, I have to start writing before I hear the word mom in the morning, right? Which meant getting up early. She would watch the dawn come up as she was writing. And so you have to figure out when you're at your best.
Yeah.
And you have to build your day around that. One of my rules, sort of inspired by hers, is I do the hard thing first, right? I tackle that hard thing in the morning before I can make excuses, before I can get distracted, before your kid can wake up sick or have this or that. You tackle that hard thing first and you build your life around that. You can imagine her succeeding in writing in the morning. Everything else from there is extra.
Yeah, everything else is extra. You say in writing this book that your discipline, or what you saw as your own self-discipline, was tested.
I think every big project tests you, but this was like my 12th book in a row in 10 years, and I was just so tired.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure the material was going to come together, but I was going through my note cards and I found a note that I'd written to myself months before, and it said, follow the process. Trust the process. And that's, you put one foot in front of the other. Mark Aurelius says, trust the discipline you know and let it support you. Right? We get so distracted about what's coming ahead, how long it's going to be, how hard it's going to be. And really, we should show up and do the smallest, hardest thing right in front of us right now.
I love that, because that's what you say. For years, people would say, don't sweat the small stuff. And I always thought, well, no, because the small things lead to the big things. If you can do the small, you can do the big, and vice versa. You say, do sweat the small stuff. Nothing is too small.
The small stuff matters, but I think when you're dealing with something hard, one of the best ways to make it easier is to focus on something small right in front of you.
Right.
And that adds up. The Stoics say, well-being is realized by small steps, but it's no small thing.
I introduced you as a modern philosopher. There are people who are like, what does that mean in this day and age? There's no such thing as a philosopher. They're all in crypts and tombs somewhere in Rome. But here you are.
Well, that's the tragedy, though. Ancient philosophy in the ancient world, it wasn't for the classroom. It wasn't theoretical. It was about living the good life, becoming who you're meant to be. And the Stoics, Mark Aurelius was an emperor. There were soldiers, there were artists, there were creators, there was politicians. And we got to think about philosophy not as this abstract thing that you learned about in college and never used again, but how to answer big questions and little questions like, how do I stop losing my temper, right? How do I focus on a big problem in front of me? That's what philosophy is about. It's about stuff you can use in your everyday life.
You've helped so many people. Your fans include LL Cool J, Charlemagne the God, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just about every person that you can run into who is accomplished point to something that they've read, that you have written. Marquette University head coach Shaka Smart is a fan, adores you. Take a look.
Ryan Holiday's wisdom goes well beyond his years. Maybe that's because he's an expert on a group of people that are thousands of years old. Ryan has helped me become the best version of myself, and more importantly, he's helped me bring the best out of others. Ryan, thank you for affecting countless lives, including my own.
Wow. You know, you talk about Ryan in the book, how, listen, being disciplined is hard. Having your dreams and the destinies you want come true, it is hard, but it's supposed to be.
It is. You want a quick Shaka Smart story? That I think is about discipline ultimately, because the highest form of discipline is flexibility. And I remember when Shaka moved from Texas to Marquette, I said, do you like the cold weather better or the hot weather? He said, are you a hot weather guy or cold weather guy? And he said, I'm a dress for the weather guy, right? Discipline is about making it work wherever you are, whatever you have in front of you.
Yes.
It's not about this, it's about being loose and flexible and doing what needs to be done.
Okay, we got a few seconds left. What is the one thing you want people to take away at this moment?
Remember, it's self-discipline for a reason. These are rules you set for yourself. You can't enforce them on your kids. You can't drive your colleagues to them. It's primarily about working on yourself and let that example inspire other people to be more disciplined in their own lives.
Wow, you are incredible, Ryan. I'm telling you, Tam fam, I wouldn't say it if it was not true. I opened this book last night and I did not put it down until the very last page where Ryan was talking about his own family. That's how far I got in this. Ryan's new book, Discipline is Destiny. The Power of Self-Control is available September 27th, wherever books are sold. And because I love it and he wants to spread the message, everybody's going home with their own copy of the book that is transformational. I promise you that.